Hello and welcome to Wisdom Wednesday, April 25th, 2018. Steve Sipress here. The end of another spectacular, beautiful spring day. A little heated down here. There's a reason they call it the desert. I think it got up to around 97 degrees today. But it's a dry heat, as they always say. So it's like walking around with your head in an oven. And we're just getting started. It's only April. It does get up to 115 and 120 over the summer, but I hear it is dipping back down into the 80s next week, so we'll make it through, and then we'll make it through the summer, as we always do. As folks up north or in other climates make it through the winter, we make it through the summer. It's all good. Oh, look at that. The moon is out. Do we see it up there? There it is. The moon is out while the sun is still out and hasn't set, but it's about to, so let's get right to it. First, the rhino of the day is this photo of a charging, full-speed, rushing rhino running head-on at the photographer, who I'm going to guess is using some kind of a long-range lens and is not actually standing about 20 feet from a charging rhino, or else might not have been able to develop that photo unless somebody came along and buried him and picked up the camera and developed it, because a charging rhino, they actually can run extremely fast. They just don't turn very well. And that's kind of the subject of today's Wisdom Wednesday. And I saw somebody, now I forget what it was because I wrote it down a few days ago, but somebody was online and they said something like, well, you know, slow and steady wins the race. And I was like, oh my goodness, no. Do people really believe that? First of all, it's called a fable. Aesop's Fables, right? And this is a famous one. I guess they all are, but this is the story. And the story of the tortoise and the hare. And in the original story, the hare doesn't even have a name, but the tortoise does. His name is Slow and Steady. So at the end of the story, Aesop can proclaim Slow and Steady won the race. Jim is here. Good seeing you. But there's a reason that's a fable, folks, because in reality, of course, everyone knows that a hare, a rabbit, would never, ever possibly lose a race to a tortoise. I mean, the only possible way is if the race was a quarter of a centimeter. And somehow the tortoise, you know, it takes about 10 minutes to move that far, but actually went in the right direction while the hare was like just got off on the wrong direction. You couldn't get him back on track, or maybe just the first very movement of the tortoise was before the hare started. But any distance, I would say, over about 4 inches, including, you know, any real race over any distance at all, like in real life, no tortoise is ever going to beat a hare. I mean, as the story goes, the hare was so full of himself that he said, I'm so fast, that he just took a nap and said, I'll just wake up and have plenty of time. And in reality, though, even in reality, that would have been correct, that it doesn't matter how far that tortoise could possibly get, the hare could never sleep long enough to lose the race. Even if he slept for 8 hours, that tortoise is not going anywhere. I mean, I could have looked it up. Maybe you can, you know, look it up on a google.com search or something. But, like, how fast does a tortoise go in the water? I've seen them, and I've been, you know, snorkeling with them going by. They go pretty fast. But on land, tortoises move real slow. So even in 8 hours, they don't go anywhere, and the rabbit would never lose the race. So remember, that's a fable. And I remember, I could have looked this up too, but I remember years ago hearing something about how the whole idea was that Aesop was a slave, and that he would tell these fables to get one over on the powerful / successful people in the world that the slaves were being crapped on by. And so he would use these stories to kind of amuse himself and confound and confuse and make the powerful, successful people look like fools. Because the powerful, successful people, of course, are fast. Money loves speed. Okay, slow never won any race. Okay, watch the Olympics, watch you know, any track and field event, watch somebody you know, run a 40-yard dash in football, getting ready for the draft, watch a baseball player try and steal a base. Like, slow never wins anything. Same in business. You know, let's say I spent a year on the floor of the Chicago Board Options Exchange. Like, if there was a trade to be made, don't think that I could be the slowest to get to it and it would still be around. It was taken by all the traders that were fast and said, buy them, or sold, or whatever, I'm on it, immediately. And they executed the transaction quickly. So if I was slow in thinking about it and trying to figure things out and say, is that good or bad? I already missed out. I already lost. I was slow. Slow and steady loses every single time. Now, Here's the thing. Slaves, the translation to modern world of a slave is a wage earner, right? A slave who, other than the physical torture of, and absolutely being, but by forced to work physically. It's been said that, people no longer have actual slave owners, but people actually sell themselves to the highest bidder, because that describes the job market. People go out and they say, yes, massa, how much will you pay me? Okay, and when do I have to show up, and what do I have to wear, and what rules do I have to follow, and what do I have to say, and God forbid I do anything wrong, and then you fire me or you get rid of me, and I'll beg for a raise, and I'll beg for a day off, and, please, give me something. But us, the 13% of Americans that are business owners, are what makes the world go round. We are the hare. We are the rabbit. We are the speed. We're the successful people. So, of course, the slaves want to bring us down with their tricky little story about how, those fast people, they're lazy. Well, of course, compared to the slow and steady worker, the business owner is often not only seen as, but basically, can be lazy. I mean, like if you're working on a factory line, or you're a, bus boy or a waiter in a restaurant, the owner of the restaurant is in the back doing paperwork, or on his boat, or at home, or playing golf, or whatever. He's invested the capital and the know-how to translate that into money, and he pays wage earners, modern translation slaves, to do his work so that he can become more and more successful. That's basically the story of the tortoise and the hare. So hopefully you're not falling for that nonsense when you hear somebody say slow and steady wins the race. Slow and steady does not win the race. It keeps you employed. If you're going to be kind of fast and braggadocious and take a nap on the job, like, you're likely to get fired. However, as the owner, you can do that if we want. If we get our business running right, we put systems into place. That's what I help my clients do. They can never even go into the office. They can go travel for 6 months, come back, and their business even grew to bigger than it was when they left. Happens all the time to my clients because they put systems in place. So they could have been sleeping for 6 months, could have been hanging out on some island for 6 months, doing whatever they want. That's smarter than being the slave, the wage worker, who just thinks that I'm going to go through life slow and steady, and somehow that's winning. That's not. It's a terrible way to go through life. So don't get caught up in the nonsense, and remember, they're called a fable for a reason. I mean, come on now. If you somehow got a hold of a tortoise and a hare and put them both down on the ground, like, which do you think would win the race, and which do you think you could barely tell that it's moving? So you choose, when you're a business owner, which do you want to be? Do you want to believe that fable and be the slow and steady slave, good guy, never outside of the box, never taking your own route, never having any kind of talent or skill, just kind of going along, whatever someone tells you to do, never stop, never take a break, don't ever think, don't ever come up with a new idea, just go slow and steady? I'll give you a hint, it doesn't win the race. Might keep you a slave, keep you employed, but if that's winning the race, you shouldn't be watching this video. Entrepreneurs are not looking to win the slow and steady race. Okay? Money loves speed. Everything loves speed. So whoever your partner, board of directors, mentor, consultant, coach, whoever it is, get with them and always figure out how you can get more speed, more automation, more things happening in your business. And don't ever get with them and say, gee, how can we really slow everything down here? Can we deliver our goods slower? Can we work slower? Can we answer the phone on 8 rings instead of 1? Can we respond to emails in like 6 weeks instead of right away? Like, how slowly can we get our message out? Can we send our stuff by like 4th class mail instead of 1st class mail? Because, I've heard that the goal is to be slow. I mean, when you think about it, I know I'm getting ridiculous, but makes you think, right? Slow and steady never wins anything but a fable. Money loves speed. As entrepreneurs, we need to always think about speed and not being slow. And most of all, we need to not listen to the fables that keep the 87%ers, all the wage slaves and the wage earners and the people with not enough guts or know-how or ambition or whatever to run their own business, to stay where they are and make them feel good about it. Hey, that feels good. You won that race against that lazy, fast guy. So keep it up. Of course, those in power want people to think that. It's just like politicians coming out and saying we need more jobs. None of them says that to their kids. They all say to their kids, hey, you need to be in control. You need to own the business, run something, be in power. But they tell the rest of the public, hey, you need to, Bernie Sanders comes out recently, you need to get I want a free minimum wage job for everybody, paid by the government. Minimum. We don't need more minimum wage jobs. People don't need to be slow and minimum wage so that they're earning money slowly and never saving enough to have a nice life. You shouldn't be watching this video. That's you. You should be watching my daily videos if you're an ambitious, forward-thinking entrepreneur, business owner who wants more out of life, started your business for a reason, to have freedom, to have prosperity, to have the life you want. None of that translates into being slow and slovenly and like a tortoise. So that's a fable. And that's it for Wisdom Wednesday. Hey, Jeremy Danley is here. Sean is here. I don't see any questions, comments, concerns. If you're watching on the replay or you want to leave them below, I always respond when appropriate. That's it for today. I'll be back tomorrow on Throwback Thursday, where I take a dip into my Wayback Machine and share something for the past. We'll have a lot of fun. Hope you'll join me then. Enjoy the rest of your Wisdom Wednesday and do it quickly. Over and out.